Jungle.
Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today we are talking about Criminal Minds. So I'm going to try to keep this a shorter episode because I do have somewhere to be later on. But Criminal Minds is actually one of my favorite shows, or at least it was one of my favorite shows. I really haven't been off into it in quite a while. So if you are a fan of Criminal Minds, you do know that the show technically ended back in 2020. And I thought that was it for them. I mean, the show has been on for years, like really, really long time, and it's gone through different cast members. We've seen different characters come in and out. And so when I heard that it was coming back, I was really interested to see like what they were gonna do. And if the same original cast members were gonna be there, if it was gonna be all new crew or whatever. So I found out through Twitter that Criminal Minds Evolution, which is what they're calling it. So I guess it's kind of like it is Criminal Minds, but it's also um different from the original Criminal Minds, I guess you could say. So I saw that on Twitter and I was like, what? I was like, they're coming back after, it'd been about 3 years since they went off air. And so when I found that out, I was like, definitely got to talk about it on the podcast because this was a show that I grew up watching quite a bit. I watched it a lot in high school and then throughout college. Pretty much like my favorite law show, I guess you could say, or like anything having to do with like crime or something. Like this was my go-to show. I know a lot of people like Law and Order SVU, which is a really great show as well, but like for me it was always like, oh, I think I'd rather watch Criminal Minds. And it kind of came to a point where it was almost like a comfort show for me. Like I knew I could switch it on and rewatch old episodes and everything like that. Like the early seasons and the early episodes to me are the better ones. So even now, like if I'll see like an old episode on, I'll still kind of watch it. But I really fell off, I think, after, God, I want to say maybe after like season 13, maybe 12 or 13. I don't know. And I'm probably going to be, talking about spoilers. So if you haven't seen the first episode that just premiered a couple weeks ago, this is for season 16, episode 1. So if you haven't seen it, I'm going to be talking about what happens in the episode. So just a spoiler alert for you. But yeah, like back in the previous seasons, there was this whole thing with Reed that somebody what's the word I'm looking for? I'm blanking on the word right now. But basically somebody set him up and he ended up going to prison, which was like one of the craziest storylines I feel like they've ever had. And then I think around that time I wasn't really like um I wasn't fully paying attention to what was going on. I just remembered like knowing that he was in prison and I was like, this is crazy. What are they doing this to Reed for? Like Reed is like the sweetest character, and he's been through a lot. Like if you watch the show, he's been through a lot. Um like with his mom, and then the girl that he loved got killed. And and then going way back, like I don't even remember what season this was. It might have been like season 2 or 3. He got tortured. And I think from then on he had kind of had a problem with like drugs. I think a little bit he kind of sort of started having a dependency on it. So he wasn't a drug addict, but that messed him up. So he's gone through a lot. So when they put him in prison like that, I was like, I was a little like upset. I was like, why would they do that to Reed of all people? But anyway, so I didn't fully like see what had happened with that, like how he got out and everything and what the end result was. Like I know he eventually got out. They found out that he wasn't lying and that he didn't deserve to be in prison and stuff. But I'm sure while he was there, like some other stuff happened that probably kind of mentally messed him up. So I feel like after that, I really didn't know what was going on. Um, but so jumping back into season 16 with the newest season was kind of like, whoa, because I feel like I haven't seen these characters in so long. Unfortunately, Reed, played by Matthew Gray Gubler, he's not in season 16. So I'm not sure what happened there. I guess he probably wanted to do other projects. I mean, he's been doing the show for a really long time. Like, he's one of the original cast members. He's definitely a fan favorite, so he is missed for sure. So he's not in it. But what I'm really excited to see is Emily Prentice. She's in it. And I know she's kind of been back and forth throughout the seasons. I think she first appeared in maybe season 2, I think. And this was like around the time Gideon left. So I'm talking like way towards the beginning of the show. If you remember, Gideon was like the head of the BAU. This was before Hotch was even the boss, and then he left and Elle left, and then like Prentice came in and she was like, the new character. And I think a lot of people liked her like when she first came on the scene. I know I did. So she's, to me, is like, I feel like it's really good to have her back on the show. So I'm excited to see her role, because I think, from what I understand, I think she's like gotten promoted now. So I'm pretty sure that Rossi is still ahead of the BAU, I think, but like she has a higher position now. So, I feel like that'll be interesting to see like what that will do for her character and what type of like predicaments I will put her in, because she's been through a lot too. I mean, they all have like the job that they do, the life that they live, it causes a lot of like tragedy. I shouldn't laugh about that because it's not funny, but it's like she's been through a lot for sure. And I'm not gonna go over everything that she went through. I mean, if you watch the show, you already know. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend checking it out, going back to like season one. She, like I said, she wasn't in season one, but just going back to the beginning to see how things were within the BAU and how much it changed over time, it's really interesting. And then of course, JJ's still there. I love JJ. I know there was some weird stuff that happened between her and Reed. I'm not too sure on what happened. I just know that feelings were involved, and they talked about, like, I guess, they loved each other and everything, which I thought was kind of weird, because I honestly thought Reed had kind of had a crush on Prentice at one point. I never knew that they felt that, like, him and JJ felt that way about each other. Because to me, like, from, like, again, going back to the early seasons, I always felt like they had more of a like brother sister relationship. So I'm not sure why the writers did that, but okay, maybe it was like a fan service thing. I don't know, but and I was like, JJ, like, you're married and you have kids. What are you talking about? You love this man. You've always loved this man. Like, I didn't really understand that. But so I'm not sure after, when that happened, I'm not sure if they remained friends or not, or if it was kind of awkward and they went their separate ways. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter now because Reed's not there. He's not in the show. But yeah, I do kind of remember that happening. I think I don't know if it was in the last season, but it was like, you could tell the show was kind of coming to an end and everything. And then, of course, Garcia is back, which is probably, I think she's always been my favorite character. I mean, I love all of them, but like Garcia is like, again, a fan favorite. She's definitely different from everybody else. She stands out from the rest. She kind of provides like some comedic relief. And she's kind of like, I don't know if it's strange to say she's kind of the normal one out of all of them, to be honest. Like, she kind of has the most um maybe like normal life, I guess, I don't know, outside of her job and stuff. And then, so in the premiere episode, I'll just kind of get into it. She's not a part of the BAU anymore, which I was kind of surprised. So I think what they're doing with this season is they're playing on what happened with the pandemic, and they're pretty much implementing that in the new season. And so I think the way they're going to play it, I've only seen the first episode. I think 3 episodes are out right now. So if you want to go and watch those to kind of see what's been going on, you can. But they are on Paramount Plus. I forgot to mention that. So the first episode, they premiered it on CBS, and that's how I was able to watch it. Then I think they're kind of like, if you want to see the rest of the season, like, go to Paramount Plus. And I don't have an account with Paramount Plus, but if you guys would like me to to continue the discussion with Criminal Minds, I can do that so I can watch the rest of the episodes, and then we can kind of go one by one. But so I've only seen the first episode, but I think the first two kind of go hand in hand. I think it's like a to be continued type of thing. So I am kind of like intrigued to see what happens in the second one. But anyway, back to Garcia. So so I think the pandemic happened and everybody was kind of like going their separate ways. And of course, everything shut down. So they weren't doing their typical work like they, usually would be. And so it looked like Garcia kind of was trying to live more of a normal life and do things that she loved. And then, of course, she gets pulled back into it, and they need her help because she's like the tech genius. And Alves comes to her and he's like, yeah, we need your help. And at first she's kind of like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be happy. I don't want to have to look at like crime scene photos and all this crazy stuff that people do. But she has a good heart. So she ends up helping them anyway. And so it looks like she's going to be back in She says it's a one-time thing only, but obviously, like, if she's gonna be in the show, there's no way it's a one-time thing only. Like, we know Garcia is gonna she's gonna pull through every time. So I was a little confused with the first episode. So I think they were going back and forth between two different cases, but I think the cases are connected and it's probably explained a little bit more in episode two. But again, I didn't see it. So it kind of starts off like they have that same, I guess, format with Criminal Minds, even though it's sort of a newer show. They're still kind of doing it in the same way, where in the very beginning, it starts off with like, something's going to happen because they're setting up the scene. And it starts off with something that happened in 2005. So that's why I was like, like, okay, this has to mean something for them to show that. So it's this guy, it's the unsub, and he has some guy tied up or whatever, and he's taking him to this like abandoned place and has him tied up and everything, and clearly looks like he's going to torture him and kill him. And so that's, they don't show the whole thing, but that's kind of what's implied. And then it cuts to 2022 present time, and it's this guy, and we don't, from the audience standpoint, we don't know if this is like, who is this person? This can't be the same person from 2005, or is it? Like, that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, so what, like, what's going on here? But the guy, there's like a home invasion, and the guy comes in and he abducts this young girl, this teenage girl. Um, and then it kind of goes into like the intro and everything, and then it cuts to them. And so Tara she's still in the show as well. She's investigating um what happened way back in 2005. And so I guess apparently, somebody had been killing people starting from 2005 and going all the way to 2020, and the cops and the detectives were just now, finding where he had been storing all these bodies and stuff. And so they're, investigating that. But this is in Washington, I think. So she's in a completely different place. She's not in Quantico. And then a little bit later in the episode, then you start to find out there's this case of this girl being abducted. And so obviously that's like all over the news and it's a big deal. And then JJ and Alves, and Garcia ends up being on the case, and then Rossi and stuff, they're all investigating that. So then it's like, okay, these are two separate cases. So what's the connection here? Because for them to show both, that means there has to be some type of, significance. So I thought that was kind of interesting that they did that in the first episode, because they're like trying to, they're trying to hook you in, they're trying to get you back into the groove of things. So to make a long story short, what ends up happening is the girl that got abducted, she does get saved. And the guy that abducts her is actually only 19, which I was kind of surprised by. And Garcia was actually right. So she was telling Rossi, like, I think whoever is doing this is a kid. Like, he's a young guy, because he's targeting people on this social site. I think it's called Soar. And it's something that Garcia created. And she created it specifically for young people. So she's like, this has to be like a young guy. And Rossi, I didn't even know all of what was going on with him. So he was super like on edge this whole episode. He seemed kind of bitter. And then come to find out he's grieving. So JJ mentioned, like, he's still grieving because he lost his wife about a year ago. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Cause I was like, what happened to Rossi? Like, he wasn't, he's never, I don't know. Like, I don't want to say he's always been like a tough guy, but he's kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but like, I mean, he's tough when he needs to be tough, but he was still like a nice guy. You know what I mean? Like, he was still kind of like father figure, I feel like, to all of them. And so he was very like snappy in this one, and I was just like, what the heck, like, what did I miss? Like, what's been going on? And so I think not only with him grieving, but I think obviously with them, like I said, they implemented the pandemic. So like, if his wife died about a year ago and then everything shut down, he's all alone by himself. And that's kind of what they were showing. Like, I think he's just sitting in grief and trying to like keep everything on the inside and not really let anybody help him, and that's clearly like messing him up. So I guess that will be like a personal storyline with him going throughout the season. And so yeah, they kind of have this little tiff, Garcia and Rossi, where she's trying to tell him like, no, the unsub is young, and he's like, no, I'm pretty sure like he's in his 40s and blah 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 and stuff like that. And she's like, okay, I'm shutting this down. Like, we're not gonna go back and forth on this. And JJ and Alves, like, they can kind of see like, yeah, like, Rossi is not okay, but he's not saying anything about it. He's kind of just letting it fester. And Prentice has a brief conversation with him as well, and I love Prentice because she's so compassionate, even after all the crap that she's been through. I mean, she's like literally died and had to like go into hiding. And again, if you know, you know, I won't go off into that. That's like in the earlier seasons, but yeah, she was basically just telling Rossi, like, you know, you don't have to do this alone. Like, whatever it is that you're going through, we're all going through it with you. If you just let us in, you can't just keep everything bottled up. And so he sort of has a bit of a breakthrough, I think, a little bit in the end when he's rescuing that girl that got abducted. And I think that was like my favorite part of the episode. And he's talking to, like, um, she's just found out that like her parents have been killed by this guy, and she has like the gun to her head, and she's just like ready to end it all. Like she's crying and everything, and he talks her down, and he just tells her like, I know it hurts and everything, like you not having your family anymore, but like just the way to honor your parents or the way to honor the people that we've lost is to keep going. They would want you to live. And I was like, whoo, I felt that for real. Like if you've lost anybody this year or recently, or like through the pandemic or anything like that, like that kind of hit a little bit when he said that. And I think it hit for him too, because he was talking to her, but it was like he was talking to himself as well. And so obviously, she was like, she broke down and let go of the gun, and he hugged her and everything, was telling her it's going to be okay. And I don't know, I love that scene. That was a really good scene, because I think that helped him as well. So hopefully, like going forward, he kind of opens up a little bit more with the rest of the team. Because I'm like, at this point, these are not just your coworkers. Like this is your family. Like they've been through hell and back. And again, if you watch the show, you've seen how much they've been through as a group and as a team, like life or death situations. So I'm like Rossi, you got to lean on your team. Like they're there for you. So hopefully he doesn't stay like that throughout the rest of the season. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty solid, good episode and everything. Like I said, if you guys want me to continue the discussion of Criminal Minds, let me know, so then I will get Paramount Plus so I can watch the rest of the season. I think there's only about 3 episodes out right now. I think it comes on every Thursday. I don't remember the time. You might have to look that up yourself. But yeah, like I'm glad it's back though. I do wish that they would just put it on cable, but apparently from what I've read, they're getting more views like through streaming, so that's probably why they went through that route, because cable nowadays is very fickle. Like if not enough people are watching, you'll get canceled in a minute. So I understand why they're trying to go, like, I guess where most of their audience is at, I guess. But to be honest, I don't know a lot of people that have a Paramount Plus account, or that are going like, yeah, I'm watching all my shows and all my movies on Paramount Plus. Like, I'm not trying to like make fun of that or anything. I'm just saying, it's pretty much usually Netflix or Hulu, or even like Amazon Prime or something like that. But I don't really hear a lot of people talk about Paramount Plus. So let me know if that's even like a good streaming service or anything, or if you like Paramount Plus, or if let me know in the comments, or tag me, or message me on Twitter or something and just let me know. And I'll look into it, because I might want to, like, even just personally, I might just want to watch the second episode just to see what happens and how the case kind of wraps up. At least the first case, the case that they showed in the beginning of the episode. So we still don't know much about that, because the guy that was doing the killing in 2005, he's still around, and apparently he's still doing something he ain't supposed to be doing. So I don't know what's going to happen there. But again, I guess it's connected to what happened with the girl getting abducted. So I feel like that would be interesting. Um, but yeah, before I wrap this up, I do want to let you guys know that my podcast is sponsored by Stream Media. So thank you to Stream Media for sponsoring the podcast. And the way I'm able to go live every week through Facebook with you guys is through their Stream Studio software. So if you've never heard of it, you can check it out yourself. Go to studio.stream.com, and all you need is an email. You put in your email, you get a login code, and then you're in. So it's all free. You don't have to worry about signing up for anything or making any payments. And the features are really nice and cool and easy to use. They specialize in live streaming, obviously, because that's what I do every week. So if that's something you're interested in or wanting to learn more about, or you're kind of been looking for a platform to do that, you could do it through Stream Studio, and you can also go live through Facebook, YouTube. You could do Twitch, and I believe they're going to be adding some more social media features as well. So stay tuned for that. And you can follow them on Instagram, on Facebook as well, just to keep up with any new things that they have going on. Because it's not just live streaming that they do, they have a bunch of other content that they put out as well. And there's other podcasters, other content creators that work with Stream Media. So if you want to look into that, you could do that as well. And yeah, if you use Stream Media, let me know if you like it. Or if you use the Stream Studio software, let them know that you enjoy it, what you like about it, what you don't like about it. Um, and let them know that Tiffany sent you. You know, just make me look good is what I'm saying. But anyway, I think I'm going to wrap this up in a few minutes, but let me look at my notes real quick because I wanted to see if I kind of went over what, kind of the main stuff of what happened in the episode. I didn't want to say every single thing just in case somebody wants to go and watch it themselves. But oh, I know what I was going to mention. See, I knew I was going to forget something. So in the episode, how I mentioned going back to Prentice, so she's been promoted. I don't know exactly what her title is. They probably said it in the episode and I might have missed it. Um, but yeah, she's like, higher up now, but I guess apparently this guy, I don't know what his name is, but he's annoying and he keeps popping up throughout the first episode. He keeps talking to her and trying to like tell her what and what not to do. And I'm assuming that's her boss or her supervisor or whatever, but he's just annoying. I'm like, who are you, sir? Like, Emily Prentice is iconic. She's been in the BAU for a really long time. Like, I'm pretty sure she knows what she's doing. Like, she's done it all at this point. Um and she's trying to there's one point where she's trying to tell him about this case with the one that Tara is working on, so the one from the beginning, the one that started in 2005 and they found all the bodies and everything. um I don't know if it's that he's trying to shut it down or they're just trying to make it seem like it's a cartel thing or like it's just, and pretty much they're trying to tell them like, no, this is a serial killer. Like, if you're impulsively killing and all that kind of stuff like that, like, no, this is not cartel. Like, cartel, we're going to be much more organized and they'll probably clean up after their mess type of thing. Like, pretty much they're just trying to tell them like the MO and what they know from working like for years in the BAU and what the patterns are and everything. And he's not listening. And she was trying to tell him that. And he just kept going like back and forth with her like throughout the whole episode. And I was just like, dude, get out of the way. Like, what, who are you? What are you doing? I don't know if he's like, I don't know if they showed him in the beginning like that to present like, is he going to be a problem the rest of the season is what I'm wondering. Like, if they try to get jurisdiction somewhere else or they try to investigate something and he's going to shut it down or he's going to make things really difficult for them or for her, because it seemed like he was pretty much just going after Prentice the whole time. I don't know. But he was very annoying in this episode. Let me know what you thought, or what his name is, or what his title is. Because again, I don't know if I missed that or not, or if they even really went into detail about who he was. But clearly, it's like somebody that's over her because the way he was talking to her was just like not cool. And I'm just defensive because I love Emily Prentice, and I'm like, she doesn't deserve that. Like, come on, like this is Prentice we're talking about, like. She's nice to everyone, so why you gotta be like that, dude? But yeah, that's what I wanted to mention because I was just like, I don't know why he's acting like that. Um, but yeah, let's see. Also, you know what? I wanted to know um a little bit more, not so much with this episode, but like I said, I missed a lot with what happened in the last like few seasons before the show like officially it shut down. I know that obviously there was some controversy with Hotch, and clearly he hasn't been on the show for years, so I still don't know exactly what went down there. If anybody knows like the tea, if anybody wants to talk about it, please let me know because I'm really curious, because obviously like, he was a big character. He was one of the original cast members. He was the head of the team for a long time. And then apparently what I heard allegedly, because I don't want to get in trouble, that he had some type of confrontation with like the producers or one of the producers or something like that, and he got fired. Like, it was kind of just a thing that happened pretty quickly, and then he was off the show. So I don't know if that's what happened or if he just wanted to leave. I'm not sure, but I do kind of miss his character, even though I know like he was like the super serious one and everything, but like, he has some depth to him as well. And I think when he lost Haley and everything, and then he was having to take care of Jack on his own. And I don't know, I liked seeing when he did go through hardships and stuff, it showed like a different side of him and when he was actually emotional at times because, like I said, most of the times he was like super serious, but you knew that that wasn't all of who he was. Like there was more to him than that. And I mean, if anything, like you knew he was like a ride or die. Like he was for his team wholeheartedly. He really cared about everybody. So I don't know what happened there, but I doubt he's ever coming back. And I don't know if he was mentioned at some point, like if they said, oh, Hotch like retired or he left or he died. Like I don't know what they did to like supplement that. Like what did they tell the audience? I'm not sure. So let me know if you guys know like how they handled that in the show. um and then obviously I know Morgan left a while back. He got, didn't he get married? Or I don't know. No, I don't think he got married, but he had a child. And I forgot the girl's name, but I know he like started a family, and I think he wanted to focus on that. And then I'm pretty sure in real life, he wanted to go to a different show, or I think he went to a different show. I'm not sure what happened with that show, if he's still doing it or not. But yeah, so I think for the most part, I think it was like people were leaving because they'd been with the show for a really long time, which is understandable. Like you kind of want to do some other things, play other roles. So yeah, I'm trying to think of who else. I think somebody else left too, and I don't remember his name, but it looked like I said, for the most part, it looked like they were still kind of trying to keep like a lot of the same characters that we had been seeing. Um, and so I don't know if they'll have any type of like special guest appearances. I saw in an article, and I think it might have been Collider. It was one of the, big movie like platforms that you read about. Um and there was like some type, and this was I think from like months ago or something, but I had read it like the other day, and they were saying there's some type of like theory going on. I don't know if this is coming from fans or whatever, but some type of theory about like Reed eventually becoming an unsub, like even though he's not, officially on the show anymore, like if he were to come back and make a guest appearance, or if he were to come back for a few episodes or something like that, I don't know. Or even if they do like a season 17 he's back. But I guess they were saying like there's like they believe that I don't know who they is, fans or whatever, they believe that they're setting up some type of big thing where like Reed is going to be an unsub and they're going to be having to like investigate his case. And I'm like, oh my god, don't do that. Like, don't get me wrong, that would be like super interesting. I would definitely tune in to see that because that would be crazy. But I also don't want them to do that to his character. Like, no, I'm like, not again. Like, he's been through so much, and he's like, fan favorite, one of the sweetest characters. He was like, if you remember back to like season 1, 2, and 3, especially the first two, he was like such a nerd and everything, and he's evolved a lot for sure. And I think again, I think that kind of goes with like the title, why it's called Criminal Minds Evolution, because it's like all of the characters have evolved from, where they started. And then also, I think they're talking about like the serial killers have evolved now, especially with the, I guess, I think they're making it seem like with everybody being shut down for a year, people kind of went crazy. And so then when the world opened back up, then it was like, that was like the playground for people to kind of like do whatever they wanted. And people that were already struggling mentally, that probably wasn't great for them, which, I'm sure that's true in real life. And so I think they're kind of just playing on that. So I kind of thought, I thought that was pretty cool that they added that to the title. But yeah, back to Reed though. I don't know if they would do that. Like I don't know. Like would you really want to destroy his character like that after everything? Like he has literally been in it from the first season, and I'm not sure if Matthew Gray Gubler really would even want to do that unless he knew like for sure he was never going to come back, because I feel like if they made him an unsub, they would eventually like have to kill him, or even he would go back to prison, then we wouldn't see him anymore. So I'm like, that would literally like be the end of his character, and I'm like, I don't want his life. I know he's just a character, but I'm like, I don't want his life to end like that. Like, no. So I kind of hope they don't do that. Like, I don't know. I think it might just be a fan theory. Let me know if you guys have heard that. But I saw an article about it, so it must be floating around the internet enough for them to be writing about it. So I don't know. And I think they were basing that theory off of kind of like what happened to him in prison. You know how I'm pretty sure it was again, I didn't see everything that happened, but I'm pretty sure it was rough for him when he was locked up, and plus he was being, accused of something that he didn't actually do, so that was probably playing tricks on his mind as well, because nobody was really like, I don't know if anybody was really believing him. So, I don't know all of what happened, but I guess they were saying kind of like after that he probably wasn't the same, which, I wouldn't blame him if he wasn't, but yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Reed being an unsub? Could you imagine Reed being a serial killer and the fact that he's like studied this for years? And I mean, if he did that, like I feel like he would be able to outsmart them because he knows the mind of a serial killer. So for him to turn into one would be like insane. That would be like the craziest thing they've ever done. Again, I don't know if they would ever go like that far. I don't know. Um yeah, that would be crazy. I don't know. And then I know like with Gideon, which I thought was kind of messed up, they said that he got killed or something. And this was like again, this was like years ago in I don't even remember what season, but there was an episode where Gideon was mentioned about like how he got started in the BAU and everything. And obviously he left in I think he left at the end of season two, or it was either the beginning or the end of season two, but he left obviously a while back. And then later on in this episode, they talk about he died or something, or he got killed. And I'm like, what? I'm like, why did they kill his character off like that? Like, he hasn't been on the show for years, and all of a sudden they're mentioning him and saying that he got killed. And I was just like, what was the point of that? I don't know why they did that. So I'm wondering if they did the same with Hotch or if they're going to do the same thing with Reed, where like, I don't know. I don't know, you guys. I feel like they can go a bunch of different ways with that, but I again, if they kill off Reed, I think people would really be upset, like much more than with Gideon or what happened with Hodge, because Reed is like really well liked, and a lot of people like the actor, Matthew Gray Goober. So I don't know how that would go. I honestly don't know what they're gonna do. Um, but like I said, I'm interested to find out if I don't end up tuning into the rest of the season. I will be trying to keep up with social media to see what people are saying about it, and then if they make some more articles, I'm pretty sure they'll do like reviews of each episode or something. So I'll try to look into that maybe, and then kind of report back to you guys and let you know what I find out, or what maybe like what's going to happen for the rest of the season. I don't know. I think season 16 is going all the way into January or February. I think they're gonna have like a mid-season break, and then they're gonna come back and finish off the season in, I think, at the beginning of February, if I remember correctly. So it will be on for a little while. So we'll see. So that's one show you guys can get into. If you didn't know about it, now you know. And yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you are a fan of Criminal Minds and you want to talk about Criminal Minds theories or characters or storylines or anything like that, don't be afraid to follow me. Hit me up on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, here on Facebook, on YouTube, anywhere really. And I'll put all my socials down below in the comments so that way you guys can easily follow me. And yeah, I will see you guys next weekend, and we will resume to regular time. So I will be going live at 1 p.m. Next Saturday. I just had to make it a little bit earlier today because I had prior engagement. But yeah, that should be back to normal for next weekend. And then, yeah, I won't say what we're going to talk about next weekend. You'll just have to wait and see. Just keep up with my socials and then you'll see. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good rest of the weekend, and I will see you guys next week. Bye bye.